UFC 287 is in the books, and Israel Adesanya had an unreal knockout against Alex Pereira, who had beaten him 3 times previously. 2 times was in kickboxing, and then once was in MMA to take the belt away from Izzy. This was an insane redemption story and vicious knockout, and we're going to talk about it from the perspective of a UFC fan and a doctor interested in sports medicine. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Adam Nessam, and I love covering topics such as sports, performance, health optimization, and I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts and the UFC specifically. Izzy is actually one of my favorite fighters. I like Alex too. I think this rivalry was crazy, and I just wanted to break down exactly what happened and the knockout and some of the sports medicine principles behind that. So really, this knockout was crazy. If you take a look, Izzy comes up against the fence. It looks like he was going to get knocked out in the same manner or very similar to the time he got knocked out previously when he lost the belt. But what it seems like after the fact, which Izzy said, is he was playing possum. So it actually looks like he was up, had his hands up to defend himself, and knew he was going to take some hits, but was waiting for Pereira to get overconfident, drop his hands, and then Izzy hit him with a hard overhand right and really put him off his equilibrium. It looked like the first shot didn't actually knock out Pereira, but it did wobble him. He then hits him again, drops him. If you see the second time he hits him, it kind of is a little bit more behind the ear, which hits the vestibular system and is going to really disorient someone. He drops, and then Izzy pretty much finishes him with a hammer fist, which is a dangerous strike, but definitely allowed. If the ref has not yet stopped it, fighters are instructed to, of course, you want to be as safe as possible, but to finish out a fight, you keep going until the ref stops it. So it was one extra strike. Definitely not the safest strike for Pereira, but you can't really blame Izzy for going until the fight is actually stopped. Now, what basically happens when a fighter gets knocked out in this manner? This is most certainly a form of mild traumatic brain injury. And mild traumatic brain injury is actually synonymous with a concussion. So there is something called the Glasgow Coma Scale. And what this scale does is helps to document and categorize brain injuries. So the points you're going to go from 3 to 15. And the way it works, there's 3 different categories. There's eye-opening, verbal response, and motor response. And you get a score on each of those, and then the sum of those 3 scores gives you your total score. Now, if you have a score of anywhere between 13 and 15, which is where most concussions lie, that's going to be a mild traumatic brain injury. A score from 9 to 12 is going to be a moderate brain injury, and a score of 8 or less is going to be a severe brain injury. This is definitely a test amongst many that sports medicine physicians will do for Alex Pereira as he's recovering from this knockout. Basically, what happens when you get hit like that is the brain essentially shuts off. There's an overexcitation of neurons firing, and sometimes you'll see what looks like spasming of the body, and this is actually what happened when Kamaru Usman got knocked out by Leon Edwards' head kick. You don't really see it as much in this case, but you can tell that Alex Pereira is not really aware of where he is after getting knocked out. He seems very out of it, and this is pretty common after a trauma to the brain. It takes a little bit of time for your brain essentially to reboot. And so afterwards, you see him walking around. He ends up talking to Izzy backstage. It looked like they squashed the beef a little bit, and you could tell that he was definitely more with it. He wasn't wobbling around, not being able to formulate proper sentences or things like that. So that's a great sign to see. But without a doubt, this would be classified, the way he got knocked out, and pretty much any time a fighter gets knocked out, as at the very least a mild traumatic brain injury. Now, I am sure that he is going to take a lot of time off, as he should. These are intense training camps as well as weight cuts that these fighters do to be able to perform at the highest level in this sport. And so well-deserved rest is a good idea after this. I'm interested to see where Pereira will go next. Is he going to be calling for the rematch which Izzy gave to him? It seems like, based on Izzy's comments and Dana White's comments, they don't really want to see that rematch. Izzy said he doesn't keep score, he settles them, and it looks like he wants to move on to someone else. Some people are saying Khamzat Chimaev will be fighting for the title next. Who knows? It's also thought that Alex could very easily go up to the 205 weight class because he's so big, and I'm sure he could win a belt there. So it'll be interesting to follow all these fighters' journey. I was super happy watching the fight. It was probably one of the craziest cards. It looked like Miami was a great time, and I'm sure the UFC will be back there. It was an amazing night overall. Loved all the fights. Maybe I'll break down some of the others. If you're interested in that, put that in the comments below. And again, if you're interested in sports, medicine, MMA, health optimization, or any of those topics, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. I'm really working hard on it this year, and I'll see you in the next one.